Bro, seriously missed out on the war? I did. So, okay, quick catch up. Again, this is all coming at me pretty live. I'm going off what I was able to read while driving. I have one hand up, one on the wheel. Main idea, this is what I do know. Israel struck nuclear sites in Iran. By the way, I'm saying Iran now because my Persian friend told me that's how you should pronounce it. However, if I say Iran, you can't blame me because I grew up with George W. Bush, the greatest president of all time, who said it like that my entire childhood. Stuck in my head for my entire childhood. I can't change it, but I'll say Iran if I can. So Israel struck nuclear sites in Iran. Iran struck back, bombed Tel Aviv. The nuclear sites in Iran, some of them are deep underground, and Israel does not have the capabilities of bombing them. They can't get bunker busters that deep. So they pulled the U.S. into this conflict outside of just military aid, but actually physically sending in bombs and planes. Trump waffled on it. Actually, what's insane is this first Israel strike was right before negotiations supposed to take place between the U.S. and Iran about nuclear disarmament. So Israel kind of torpedoed the negotiations, thus sort of strong arming the U.S. into one path of action by making the diplomacy angle not available. Negotiations got sabotaged. The U.S. then, Trump, whatever advisor listened to last, decided to go for it, sent B-2 bombers. I mean, they flew from America, but I believe they refueled here in Qatar. This is a base my dad was formerly stationed at. It's funny, I talked to my dad today. They used to call this base Camp Cupcake. Camp Cupcake, because it was easy and nothing happens there. That has changed dramatically. My dad is no longer, obviously hasn't been in the military for a while, but that has changed dramatically. Anyway, the B-2 bombers dropped bunker buster bombs on deep under a mountain nuclear sites in Iran. I don't know the exact spots, some around here. What's up in the air is how effective they were. There's a total fog of war on that. We don't know. Trump will tweet that they were enormously effective and they destroyed the nuclear capabilities. The facilities are wiped out beyond repair. Others will say they were ineffective and they haven't damaged that much. We don't know. We actually don't know. Anyone tells you otherwise is probably lying. It's very fog of war right now. We don't know. We actually don't know. There's some screenshots you can see or like aerial photographs of the before and after, but because it's so underground, they don't look any different. So you don't know. I have no idea. I can't tell you. Some people do say that Iran moved the uranium out of the sites before they were bombed, which is also possible. We don't know. This is all TBD. Anyway, in response, Iran fired some more missiles at Israel and then also bombed the US base on Qatar right here, but no casualties for this, which is an escalation of the war. So now it's like, now that it's fired back, and then the idea was that was going to lead to US doing something, and then we're going to get World War III. Which, by the way, the important thing, the only thing that I Googled all weekend, I refreshed it every day, was I kept Googling China response. Listen, this is obviously a big deal, but for the sake of humanity, the thing that matters the most is whether or not China chooses to involve themselves. Because China's connected with Iran, and China gets a ton of their oil from here. A ton from Iran specifically, and then a ton of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. If China chooses to step up and involve themselves on behalf of Iran, that is how this could escalate into a larger global war. Iran itself is not powerful or big enough to do that on their own. Russia is also sort of a semi-entangled with Iran, and they've been tweeting up a storm, but Russia's busy in Ukraine and is not actually sending much help or aid or weapons or anything. So just the big picture is how China responds. I've been Googling it every day. I've been checking it every day. So far, it's been strong condemnations of Israel and America's attacks, but nothing more than that. That is the big question. The second big question was whether or not Iran would mine, as in put sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz right here, because again, 20% of the world's oil goes through this very short little gap. 20%. It goes out to here, to Europe. It goes to India. It goes to China. It's so incredibly important for global shipping. Iran can mine it up and block it. If they do, it is an enormous escalation that brings the entire world's attention on this happening. They did, I believe, vote to block it, but then this ceasefire talk happened and I'm not sure what's going to happen. If they do actually block it, by the way, all the ships in this area are like turning around. You can see live updates of tankers doing complete 180s, like complete wicked tricks to not go into this strait during what's going on, because it's an insane time. That's like the main update on like what actually happened. What it all means is up in the air. The big question, first of all, this is an insane escalation. I am opposed to the initial bombings to begin with. Insane escalation. Where we are right now, the main thing we have to hope for is that there is no requiring of troops on the ground. If troops end up on the ground, it's going to be another Iraq. It's going to be a America currency ruining quagmire, endless trillion-dollar disaster. But one we can't even afford anymore. I mean, it's like the end of the dollar. But worse, by the way, because Iran has a significantly bigger population, more mountainous area, just an impossible task. There's a lot to talk about, but the most important thing is no troops on the ground, and ideally a ceasefire and hostilities. As of 2 hours ago, there was supposed to be a ceasefire announcement. Again, Trump has been tweeting nonstop, contradictory and stupid stuff this whole time. At one point, he tweeted, "Don't raise oil prices, I'm watching you." As oil prices were spiking because this was getting closed off. It's a global oil market, literally set by geopolitical events. As if he can dictate that via tweet is so stupid, I can't wrap my head around it. He's tweeting that. He's tweeting, listen, all we did was bomb. We had JD Vance come out and say, we're not at war with Iran. We're only at war with Iran's nuclear facilities. There's a difference. And it's like, okay, that's kind of a stupid statement, but it's way more stupid when right afterwards, Trump follows it up and says, I think we should do regime change. It's not politically correct, but we should have regime change in Iran, which means you are openly at war with Iran and you want to take out their leaders and change the government. That's a different goal altogether, and you guys are not on the same page. You guys are saying two different things. But anyway, because it's so contradictory, as of a few hours ago, what he said was, here, we should pull it up. We should pull up the tweets because they're all relevant. The most recent one is just an AI-generated photo of him raising a fist in front of a flag. Patriot. Oh, let me scroll. This website sucks, dude. This website. This is so haunting. Why is every time something big happens in the world, I have to check my president's Truth Social where it overwhelms and says no truths? Every time. This happens like 3 times now. I actually can't see what the president is saying because he's on a dog shit social media platform he created for himself. All right, well, I remember it, so I'll give you the long and short of it. Trump essentially said, I'm the greatest peace president of all time, and we're going to have peace, and there's peace in the Middle East, and we're going to have a ceasefire, which you can't really trust. But then news came out that Iran was tentatively agreeing to it, and Israel. So it's possible we could get a ceasefire. I have to get an update. I saw it from Reuters. So as of 3 hours ago, during a phone interview, Donald Trump said his Israel-Iran ceasefire will last forever. This is a direct quote. President Donald Trump says he doesn't believe Israel and Iran will ever be shooting at each other again. The war is completely over. The ceasefire is unlimited. It's going to go forever. If you're seeing this on the Clips channel, you could just check, bro. It's probably already been broken. Live updates. Ceasefire status unclear after Israel reports continued missiles from Iran. Okay, so I think it's already over. I think the forever, no more war, no more fighting, ceasefire unlimited, going to go forever. This is 3 hours ago. We're looking at what is this, an 8/11? This is 20 minutes ago. So 20 minutes ago, that's been broken. That's cool. The 12-day war, day 13. Yeah, oh, that's what he was saying. He was tweeting that it was, people will call this the 12-day war and it's now over. And I just get the feeling that that's not how it's going to work. However, the goal of a ceasefire, I can't stress this enough, is extremely important. The most damaging outcome would be another Afghanistan or Iraq, which is a 20+ year boots on the ground, multi-trillion-dollar quagmire disaster. That, by the way, horrendous for America, no good outcome. But does seem to be what Israel's kind of angling towards because it's not their money. They don't lose anything. So that's not what we want. We really, 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 really need to not have boots on the ground. And there is hope that that won't happen, especially because this is so, again, fracturing Trump's base. I didn't have a chance to do as much research as I'd like, but my understanding is this is extremely unpopular from like the MAGA Steve Bannon wing, who really bought into the America isolationist, no new wars, get out of the Middle East thing that he ran on. He ran on that, and now he's losing that side. And he already lost, not all the way lost, but they've already split off the tech right. That was the Elon Musk side of the party. That's clearly like fractured and no longer as strong as it was. So the base is definitely splintering. And I think Trump, based on how many times he tweeted the word peace, despite his actions not pushing towards peace, seems to understand that. He's always been good at reading the political moods of his base. Not much the governing of America, but he's been good at reading the moods of his base and knowing how to, that's one of his best skills, actually. And I think he's recognizing that this is not, even Vance came out and said something that was one of the most insane. Does anyone have the Vance quote about, he's like, I know you guys hate when America gets involved in wars in the Middle East. And you're tired of that. But that was stupid, presidents. I'm not misquoting him. That's a direct quote. You'd think I'd be making it up, but I'm not. That's exactly what he said. He hit him with a "this time it's different."
I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing. We've got in, we've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years. And that is what the president has set out to do.
Okay. He makes it all sound so easy. Over the coming years. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, listen, there's not a lot of great outcomes, but the very bad outcome is U.S. boots on the ground, quagmire in Iran, lives lost, trillions lost, ruins the dollar. That's terrible. That's the worst. Actually, that's the second worst. The worst outcome, though, and this is why I want to keep trying to check. This is 20 hours ago. This is the key thing to watch, is that Iran, as it currently stands with its current regime and the current situation, is beneficial to China. China gets a lot of oil from them and likes having a friend control the Strait of Hormuz. If they sense that that is changing, or if that Israel and the US do accomplish regime change and get somebody who's not friendly to China in Iran, that is a big threat. That is a threat to China and their growth and their security for oil, which will cause them to respond in ways we can't predict. That is the biggest thing to watch, is how they respond to this. As far as I know, it's just been words so far, but this is new. So we'll see. Again, this is all live. This is all happening live. And I don't like to cover this stuff live too much, because you really need to, especially when it's all changing day by day, you need days to think about it and to understand. But that's the breakdown on sort of what is going on. Now, if we have any good, I think there was some videos I did want to watch. There was a Caspian report video, how this war could become China's proxy. I did want to watch that.
A prolonged conflict in Iran would tie down US attention, drain its resources, and force Washington into a war it didn't plan for and can't easily exit.
Yeah, I mean, true disaster. Just really, 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 really need to not escalate this to an actual war in Iran.
For most of its post-revolutionary history, Iran has struggled to find a reliable great power to lean on. For a time, that appeared to be Russia. But the truth is, Moscow was never a dependable partner.
Dude, there's like comments in China from like, how do I put this? Imagine like the type of bro you'd see in Wall Street bets, but in China. Imagine like that version of that kind of subgroup in China. And they're all saying how Iran needs to buy more top quality Chinese weapons. And that the big problem is they bought too much Russian crap and not enough Chinese weapons. This is like a real, like a fucking discourse. Yeah, they're tied closely.
The deal provided China with guaranteed access to Iranian oil at steeply discounted rates, while offering Iran billions in investment tied to the Belt and Road Initiative.
I mean, China has been farming incredibly good oil deals from Russia and Iran, who are both sanctioned. So Iranian oil sells at a discount to China because no one else can buy it at scale. Some of it to India too. And Russia, same thing, who then resell it to Europe anyway. But like, they only have people they can sell it to, and they've been farming these two.
Iran wouldn't become a Chinese satellite overnight, but it could be nudged into something else, dependent, indebted, and strategically useful.
Sure.
Admittedly, much of this premise rests on circumstances still in motion, but if any country is positioned to capitalize...
Tough to call any of this so early. I think the largest question mark is, wow, whether the ceasefire, which doesn't exist, has any staying power. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Whether the U.S. escalates and involves actual boots on the ground. Whether there's any chance or shot of regime change, not from outside forces, but from inside forces in Iran. The Ayatollah is not particularly popular. It's definitely waning popularity and probably at their weakest moment right now.
A short war leaves Beijing watching from the sidelines, but a prolonged one, especially one that draws in the United States, creates space for China to act.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really brilliant way to put it. If this war is short, just on a realpolitik level, then it primarily benefits the United States and Israel. But if it is dragged out and becomes a quagmire, then it deeply, deeply, deeply hurts the United States and benefits China. Anyone who thinks the Iranian regime can be changed from the inside doesn't know Iran. Every rule down, people have no way of successfully telling the regime on their own. Okay, that's a little bit of a silly statement, right? Like, you could say that about the Assad regime. It also lasted 50 years. Slowly, all at once, right? Toppling happens. That's like a total nothing ever changes mindset. Most of the time things don't change, but then events all line up and things change. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying it's the closest it's ever been to happening.
It would mirror what the US has done to Russia in Ukraine, create a front that slowly drains the adversary over time. A drawn-out
or Russia and Afghanistan, or US and Afghanistan, or US and Iraq. It needs to be avoided at all costs, which is why the bombs were stupid to begin with.
A distracted America gives Beijing its best chance to move on Taiwan. The clearest example is the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep.
Iran's ability to threaten global oil shipments through the strait is one of its strongest deterrents. But if China becomes its patron, that option disappears. Around half of China's crude oil...
Yeah, it's worth noting, the way they close this strait is, it's not like you put a gunship there and you're like, all right, you can go through, you can't. They mine it up so nobody can go through. So the people most affected are in fact Europe and China when this is closed, where a ton of their oil comes through. You can't, yeah. You know, otherwise, some people say, like, why don't they just block it so that, you know, Chinese ships can go through, but no one else can. But that's not really how it works. Europe and USA, China will be less affected. No, that's wrong. China will be one of the most affected. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, that's deeply damaging to China. In fact, all of Iran's shipments go to China, but, you know, something like 50% of their oil comes from this strait. Doesn't it hurt the Iranian economy way more if they can't export oil? Yes, of course. I mean, it would be disastrous for them too, but they're in a corner. Yeah, this would be such a major event that would get so many global powers involved if this actually gets closed for any significant period of time. It would cause a global oil shock. It would cause Europe involvement, China. It would be big. The economic impact would be massive. Trump told the Department of Energy to drill bit. Yeah, I mean, listen, Trump has been trying to bring oil prices down via tweet. He has been saying, keep them down, I'm watching, and everyone needs to start drill, baby, drill right now. It's like, you cannot escalate conflict in the Middle East and not expect oil prices to rise. You just can't do that. They're not up. I mean, they're not significantly up, but they went down today. In fact, the stock market went up and the oil prices went down today because everyone had panicked. The way this works is like, it's so over, we're so back, it's so over, we're so back. The market goes, oh my God, it's World War III. And then they're like, oh wait, ceasefire, it's fine. And then they're like, oh wait, then it escalates. Oh wait, it's bad. It's just variance goes up until more details become real. Iran's been sending signals they want to de-escalate. They warned the US about the Qatari strike beforehand and said they would stop shooting at Israel if Israel did the same. Yeah, yes, they did do both these things. That's why I thought the ceasefire could be real, because they participated, but then there was 20 minutes ago some missiles fired, so I don't know. Wouldn't the Strait of Hormuz closing benefit the US since its exports? I do agree, from having looked more into it, that the major damage would be to China and Europe, actually, if that strait closed. And US as an exporter would actually become ever more important to Europe, who buys oil and natural gas from us. However, in the short term, the oil price shock would be so damaging to Trump's already declining polling numbers that I don't know that he could I mean, listen, this sums it up, dude. Public support for initial U.S. military strikes against. In Afghanistan in 2001, 88-10. Huge support. Iraq, less support. ISIS 2014, less support. Iran, almost no support. This is deeply unpopular. If it was followed up by massive oil shock into an already slowing economy, it's just death. It's just political collapse. Just from his POV, his personal POV. He's trying to backtrack as much as he can out of this and keep oil prices down because he's already in a tenuous spot politically. I feel like when you become president, a little voice appears in their head that whispers to go to war in the Middle East. I did a good background on it on the Lemonade stand. If you just want to watch the Iran part, Iran, I recommend it. I think it's a good primer to catch up. But it just shows the long geopolitical history around oil in the region and why conflict seems to spring up there and why the 3 key straits are so important. We'll definitely follow up on this tomorrow. But, you know, it's breaking news. So we're going to have to read more. Dude, this is so funny. This is what I was saying earlier, right? I said, like, it's head spinning because he goes from one day saying regime change and the next day saying global world peace. We're done. Mission accomplished. Peace. And then it's like whoever he talked to last, he just tweets out that as his foreign policy. It's so wild. Yeah, on Sunday. And then on Monday, entirely different. Congratulations to everyone. Complete and total ceasefire. Keep him guessing. I just don't think he has a plan, bro. The guy who created Panicking, he is the biggest Panicking. It's the most noticeable thing about this whole presidency is that there is, it's not even like there's like something I disagree with, but they're pursuing it. It's like there's just a ad hoc plan. It changes on a dime. There's no, it's whatever he talked to last. Yeah. No matter what they choose, the execution is always bad. Yeah, that's a great way to phrase it. That's how I feel. Feels like no matter what direction he chooses, whether I agree with the direction or not, the execution is so bad that I am underwhelmed or angry. But enough about that.